Tarke and a cat here. We got another Patreon build review. So this one is from Andrew. And Andrew, he sent me this build just before the league started, but I cut off all my build reviews like the day before. So he's been playing the build for a week. This is what he sent me initially. Hey man, you are awesome. He actually says that. I'm a relatively new player. I haven't done much crafting before. If you've got any gear recommendations, that'd be great. Not sure if this is true, but it feels like no one ever uses Scion. Right. As such, I want to be a slight rebel. Not sure if this is doable. If not, I'll use a meta version. Right? And he wants to go Scion, Cyclone, Facebreaker. Now, we had a bit of a back and forth, and I was saying, like, maybe you should look into Octavian's setup, because he played a lot of Octavian, Gladiator, Facebreaker, and I was like, maybe go Gladiator, maybe go Champion, but he really wanted this whole Scion thing. So, anyway. So, this is his current setup, and not his planned route, right? Oh no, sorry. He sent his current setup. So this is his planned route, right, with his items. So, let's have a look at what he's got. Okay. 151% life. Rough. Rough. He's using Abyssus. Oof. Oof. Is he a diamond flask? But he hasn't got... He says, I know I'm missing the amulet. So I'm guessing he wants to use Rigwalds, but he doesn't have the Rigwalds cast. That's a squishy character though, dude. That's a very squishy character. Okay, let's look at his skills. So he's got a random ancestral war chief linked to Impale. He's got a blood rage. He's got precision, maim, flesh and stone. Okay. Multi-tron increased duration, concentration, punishment. I can hate punishment, dude. Berserk had a purity, blood and stone. And is he using blood and stone and flesh and stone? That can't be optimal. Cyclone infused channeling, melee fizz, conk effect, and a falling conk effect and a oof. 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 Okay. Right. This might take a while. So, immediate things that strike out. This is some of his gear options. Abyssus, 44% increased physical damage taken. 151% increased life. 3.8k life. Seems a bit rough. Guy in the chat saying he's using both flesh and stone. And blood and sand. Okay, fair enough. So he wants to use the Rigwald's Ami, but doesn't have the Rigwald's Ami. I wouldn't do that. I don't see Impale nodes. You want Impale. Impale's good. You're pure fizz. You're not converting anything. Impale is amazing. What ascendancies did he go for? What did he get? So he went Berserker for 5% increased damage taken. So he's got so much increased damage taken. So much increased damage taken. Okay. And he's got Champion, which give him Intimidate, Fortify on hit, 10% damage from the Taunt, and some movement speed. So it's decent. Reminded the top glass kind of Metamorph was a Scion Cyclone with 100 mil DPS. Ooh, that sounds kind of cool. See if we can find that for inspiration. Oh, let's have a look. See PB Ninja builds. Metamorph. Looking for Scion. Looking for Cyclone. 100 mil damage. Okay. So look at what this guy had. So he was running Abyssus. I mean, it wasn't Facebreaker, but boom boom. And he went for Assassin for the base crit. Okay, fair. You also get the elusive on kill. Okay. And then he went the whole Berserker Abyssus thing. That's a bit of a meme in my opinion. But right. Okay. This hurts me though. Like, if that still hurts, can we look at a slightly more realistic? What's this 20 mil version? Facebreaker. Okay, this is a little bit more. How much life does it have? 5k life. Jesus. Who are all these kids with like no life? Okay, so this tree looks... Okay, so it looks like this guy copied this tree. Again, no Impale. I don't even know how to go about this one. The melee builds are like my weakness. I'm so bad at doing melee trees because I never play it. I used to only play melee, but the problem was that was in beta. Right, so your cluster jewel doesn't seem to really be giving you anything that great. You're getting 5% chance to double damage, but you're spending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points for it. Yeah, you're getting some increased ocean that's not really worth. That's just giving you some evasion and armor, some damage not really worth. And that's just giving you some increased fizz and some auras. So the points you're currently spending for the cluster jewel isn't worth it. And you have incredibly low life. So I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut all of that. Also, did you not have capped res? You didn't have capped lightning res. That's something you need to improve. But yeah, that cluster jewel isn't worth. I wouldn't spend 6 points to the fortify cluster unless you're gonna spend like other points nearby. So we're gonna cut that. You're currently not crit, so we're gonna cut all the crit stuff. You sure you might go crit in the future, but you're currently not crit. Also, you're not using claws, so you're not getting anything from Claws of the Pride, so that's not doing anything for you. Okay. Right. These 2 points, you can instead go like that. Like that. Sure, it's extra points, but you get access to life. Life node's good. I'm gonna do the cardinal sin. I'm gonna look at Octavian's PV profile. Octavian has played a lot of Facebreaker. Like, a lot of Facebreaker. So, let's have a look at some Octavian setups. Right, so this was his character from last league. How did he root his tree? Went Divine Flesh. Played this to 100 in hardcore last league. Nice. And he takes the Impale stuff. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Nice. Okay. Okay. For Mana Leech, you can get Leech on jewels and jewelry. I would drop Scion start and I would jump. Like, I'd get your Ublab to jump to either Duelist or Marauder. I would jump to Marauder because you should take that point. It's only 1 point travel. So let's do that. I wouldn't do Berserker. I just wouldn't. I'd much sooner take anything but Berserker. But if you had to take Berserker, fine. If I was to pick, I think Champion is decent because you're going to be getting the Taunt on there, you're getting some chance to Impale, getting the movement speed, getting the Intimidate. Slayer's got the Cull, it's got the Leech, which is nice. It's got the Cannot Take Fizz Reflect. I'd probably go Champion Pathfinder. But I don't know if I should change your build that much. I would probably go Pathfinder Champion. I'd probably do that. I wouldn't have gone as a Scion. I would have played either a Gladiator or a Champion personally, but I spoke to Andrew about this before the league even started, so fair enough. So let's swap those points around, because we'll say that he's going to leap to that. So we can drop these points here. Okay. Right. So, you're playing in melee range. You're gonna need defenses. Boosting your defense is going to be one of the main things you're going to be going for. You're going to want Impale stuff, because Impale stuff is really good. So we need to give him a 100% chance to Impale. So, let's have a little look-see at links and stuff. So you're going to use the Impale support gem, which gives 40%. So he's got 20% from champ, so that's 20. So he's got 40 from the gem, that's 60. 65, 75. He's at 90% chance to Impale, so we still need an extra 10%. So probably going for the other Impale cluster. You could anoint that if it was too difficult to reach to, because it's fairly cheap at Verdant as a Violet. Like, that's not too crazy. Again, I wouldn't go crit. I would respec to 2 passives. You can change that by doing 20 regrets and a Onyx amulet to the Act 2 vendor. If you wanted to do cluster to duel stuff, you could, but for now, I would drop that stuff and focus on getting something else. Right. How are we gonna route this thing? I'm gonna put in everything that I want, and then I'm gonna start removing things. So I'll just put everything in, and then just take everything out. The block stuff is decent if you're going like max block, but you don't have Surrender or anything. Surrender is a very good shield. I'd probably go for Surrender max block Facebreaker. There's really cool synergy there. But you haven't gone for that setup, so I guess you won't do that. It would be nice having the Fortify cluster. It would be nice having the Fortify cluster. He could put a cluster jewel here. He could put a Timeless jewel here. Either or. If you put a Timeless jewel in there, you'd convert Iron Grip. So maybe we keep that sort of stuff in there. These nodes are great because they give damage. They give block, which is solid. If you would do the whole block thing, you also get the chance to get the endurance charge on kill, which is really nice. So maybe those are things because you had some block nodes, so maybe you can go that way. I would definitely go Resolute Technique though. So we're gonna shove Resolute Technique in the build, and then if you're gonna be going all the way up that way, you may as well then like continue to come up this way, because then you could go to Devotion, maybe shove your cluster jewel in here for 3 points instead of there. So maybe that's the swap, right? And then maybe we come across the top to link into Scion instead of coming along this way. So maybe you could do something kind of like that to route that way, and then instead of routing that way, come across 1, 2. Right. Drop all of that. And then maybe like, whoops. Do something sort of like that. Which should be level 87 tree on a Scion. That looks pretty decent to me. Right. So, what are the most efficient damage clusters that we are close to? We're just trying to fit in deeps. You're not bleed based, so not those nodes. That's just strength. Not using an axe. Bloodletting. Not really that much in terms of damage. What can we fit in here? I guess you'd go for the cluster jewels for the damage at this point. So that's level 86 tree. So if you could cut the point, you're not going to need the crit, because we said we don't need the crit. So yeah, maybe you put a nice cluster jewel in here, and then we try and cut the points down as much as possible, so that he can just go like all in on cluster jewels for the damage. Again, this is great if you're doing the block stuff, but you're not really doing the block stuff, so instead just go 1, 2, cut all of that. And then this is 10% damage, a little bit of block, that's 14% damage, that's 12% damage. Like, that's great if you want the endurance charges. Like, these are solid. They give you some damage and endurance charges. I probably would take those, but you could drop them. Could also anoint it. Not that expensive. But maybe we try and cut the points down as much as possible. And then just, like, shove a really nice cluster jewel setup on the end here. I kind of like the look of that. I kind of like the look of that. Even dropped that 1 point. This looks very similar to Octavian's Tree. If for context, this was Octavian's Tree. So, yeah, pretty similar. 12%. Right, let's look at some of the gear options you've got going on there. I personally really don't like Abyssus. If you're playing in softcore and you don't care, I guess, sure, you can run it. But if you're going to run an Abyssus, at least try and get an Abyssus which has the lowest possible physical damage taken roll, because that will really screw you up. So let's swap that around for that. I don't like Bronze Life very much because it doesn't give you any defense. Sure, it gives you some damage. Yeah, the plus levels. Cyclone has flat damage. Fair enough. Steel rings are super important for Facebreaker builds. Yes, ideally you would run the super busted Circle of Guilts. They're going to be very expensive. But that would be your ultimate DPS. Because it gives the increased... Power of Purity buff effect, so it increases your physical damage by a ridiculous amount. But they're super expensive, so you're not going to have those. So for the very least, you should be able to get hold of 2 steel rings pretty easily, I'd imagine, in Trade League. They can't be too expensive. So you'd want a pair of steel rings, and then you can use essences, which are fairly common now, to get the flat fizz. So you're going to want just stacked flat fizz life. And eventually, if you're playing the character for the whole league, save up and get some Circle of Guilt. So let's just say that you had, like, you know, double flat fizz life. Your DPS would go up crazy amounts. Then if you had all of that and you had the Impale set up, you then wouldn't need to run crit. Because we've got the points kind of lowish, if we were to cut that, we could now go for, yeah, deep cut jewels. Also, if you have this full Impale cluster, you then don't need that 10% point. You'll have enough Impale chance, I believe. And what did we get the Impale chance to? Also, he's not running Impale on Links yet, is he? No, he's not running Impale on Links yet. Okay, let's put Impale on there. Okay. So again, we've got 40% chance to Impale. 20%, that's 60% chance to Impale. 65... 70, 80%, 85, 90%. Yeah, so he caps out his Impale chance. Cool, so he's got 100% chance to Impale. So, got the points down to 74. Now let's put in a good cluster jewel setup. So, craft jewels, cluster, large, create. It'll either be attack damage or physical damage. Let's just see what the options are. So deep cuts is insane. Deep cuts gives you the Impale. You're gonna want deep cuts, 100%. And you can get 3 notables on a large. So you'd want ideally 2 dual sockets and then 3 notables. What does Calamitous give? So that is, you don't want Calamitous. Devastator gives you The enemies killed attacks have a chance to explode. That'd be very nice. Give you some attack damage. The main one is just deep cuts in the jewel. Drive gives you some attack leech, which is decent if you need the attack leech. Feed the Fury gives you, again, attack leech, some damage, and some attack speed while leeching. That seems like a very strong one. Fuel the Fight gives you the mana leech. If you need the mana leech, you can also just get that on gear, but that could be an option if you really needed it. And Vicious Skewering gives you some increased effective Impale. It also fixes bleeding. Meh. I don't know. I'd probably just go for the jewels and deep cuts as the core. Anything else doesn't really matter. Maybe let's say Fuel the Fight just as a generic one because he needs the mana leech, right? But go for 2 jewel sockets and deep cuts. That's the important thing. And then the other notables, who cares, right? So let's just say he had that. And that is going in there. So now let's look at what medium jewels he could then have on the build. So there's aero damage, which could be an option. Channeling skill damage would be an option, because your Cyclone's a channeled skill. Let's have a look at the channeling skill damage stuff, so we can get on the channeling skills. So Enduring Focus gives you chance to get endurance charge each second while channeling, so that'd be very nice, the endurance charge generation, and just some damage. Hexbreaker gives you the immune to curses, which definitely want that. That's super powerful. Super, super powerful. Precise Focus, we're not going crit, so we're cutting that from the build. Rapid Infusion gives you increased effective infusion. Infusion is the buff you get from infused channeling. And it gives you some movement speed. That seems pretty solid. Stoic Focus gives you some block, but we're not doing the block things. You don't need the Avoid Stun, because Cyclone cannot be stunned. Vital Focus gives you... So I'd probably go for Hexbreaker, and then either Enduring Focus for the Endurance Charge generation, or Rapid Infusion, depending on which one you went for. But the main thing is going to be going for the Hex Lad. Let's say you went for Rapid Infusion and then a Jewel. And again, it's actually pretty easy to just craft these jewels. Because you just literally put them, you just alt Regal. Done. Now go in there. And then let's do a small jewel. You've got a few nice options. So for life, you could go for, which one is it? There's one which gives you life gain on hit, which could be solid. I can't remember what it's called. Fatal is the one which gives the most life. What's it called? Feast for Flash. Feast for Flash could be a solid option because it gives you the life gain on hit and Cyclone you're hitting pretty rapidly. It also gives you some leech, so it's a nice way of getting some leech. It's a nice way of getting some life gain on hit. Very solid option. Very, very solid option. But otherwise, just go for whatever. You can also go for the dodge one and get the elusive on kill, which I really like as a mod. Which one is it? Is it untouchable? No, it is. No witnesses. Now, obviously, for a lower level character, you're not gonna have like a fully. I put that in the wrong one. Sorry. That should go. So something sort of like that. When you get to a higher level, you would then go for the second dual socket, but at the very least do large, medium, small, with either life on the end or like elusive on kill or something kind of like defensive based. But yeah, so with this kind of a tree, with just steel rings, not even like putting any like crazy, we haven't really put any like crazy uniques in. You're now up to like 700k Impale DPS. So you're gonna eventually go for level 21 Cyclone, and that'll be a case of just like you just spam corrupt them until you get lucky and you hit it. Do you have infusion active? Yes. You've got it set to that. Yes. Taunted, ignited, chilled, intimidated. Yeah, sure, why not? Have you used the skill? Yes. Maximum impales? Yes. We're not generating charges. Are you on full life? That's kind of cheesing if we start putting that stuff in there. So now let's kind of have a look at your... I don't like running conk effects on Cyclone. I think it's kind of meh. Because it just screws over your links, your AoE really badly, so I would drop it. Sure, it's a DPS increase, but I wouldn't want to mess up my stuff that much. Brutality, super obvious, no-brainer, because you're just doing physical damage right now. I would say that should be your core 5 link. And then for your 6th link, you could go Pulverize, which gives you some area. You're not realistically be chilling, because you're not going to be critting. So this is your Resolute technique now. Could also go for Fortify. Or you have already got Fortified Generation. I'd probably go Pulverize. Since you already got Fortified Generation. I'd probably go like that, and you get the AoE up a bit. So if you had that with quality, which again it just comes from leveling up your gems and flipping them. You're now a 1.4 million DPS setup, which is pretty solid. So, what else is going on? You don't need the Ancestral War Chief. Let's cut that. You're going to be low on links. Blood Rage, active, fine. You've got enough regen that you'll sustain it through all the regen you picked up on the tree and some attack leech, so Blood Rage is fine. So that can be active. Precision, you don't need. Maim, Flesh and Stone. The Flame Dash can go somewhere else. I'd run Dash. I hate Punishment. So let's cut Punishment, because again, it's not always going to be active. So it's kind of cheesy. Let's cut that. You don't need the cast damage taken. Again, because you're playing Facebreaker build, you haven't got too many links. So I just want to cut it down to the core essentials. Also, you're only running Vol Molten Shell. Not Molten Shell. So Vol Molten Shell leveled up. Increased duration. Looks a lot better. Enabling Berserk, again, pretty cheesy, so let's not do that. Also, do you even generate rage? Oh, you had some rage generation happening from being Berserker. If you wanted to, you could not go Pathfinder and you could stay Berserker, so you're getting the rage. If you want to, sure, why not? I personally wouldn't do it, but if you want to keep that in there. I know we do, like, completely respec your entire tree, so respecting your entire sentency as well might be a bit extreme. That is also more damage. Made the character a lot tankier, so the 5% damage taken isn't the biggest deal in the world, I guess. Gonna want to be leveling that stuff up. The Empower... Like, it's not doing anything. Okay. Okay. So... Look back at the gear. I wouldn't run Bronze Life. Personally, I wouldn't run it. Do you have the Cyclone in the chest? Okay, sure. If you want to run it, fine. Fair enough. I don't know how expensive they are in your league, but a Raslada's Coil would be very nice for your damage. Because it gives some flat damage to attacks. It's got a nice bunch of life on it. It's got a bunch of strength. And it can hit the big top roll. It's probably really expensive. This is probably like one of those things, like, much like the Circle of Guilt synthesized rings that people are telling me in chat is like 5-6 exalts. Yeah, a lot of builds want them. It's something you would eventually want. I'm just going to put them in your path of building just so you know that they're there. It's something you'd want, but you're probably never going to have unless you just play this character all league. But anyway. For shields, you've got a few options for shields. So again, you could use the Surrender. I really like Surrender because if you go block cap, there's very good synergy. If you don't know what Surrender does, I'll bring it up. So it gives you the Reckoning. So Reckoning scales with flat damage very well. Facebreaker has a bunch of flat damage. There's very good synergy there. If you don't want to run it, fair enough. If you don't want to go full block stuff, fair enough. Instead, you could use, I think it's the Great Old One's Ward. which a lot of people like to use because it gives a bunch of flat physical. There's apparently 4 exalts in trade as well, so that's also quite expensive. But you can get a Great Old One's Ward, which is a nice DPS item. Gives you a bunch of flat damage, gives you some attack speed, gives you some life, gives you some spell block as well. Pretty solid. I'm surprised that you went like full Abyssus, full everything, and then didn't use that. I'd shove that in there. What belt were you using? Obviously, you're going to struggle a lot with resist with this one, because that's another reason not to go Bronze Life. I would much sooner drop the Bronze Life and run like an Astral Plate. We just life and a bunch of resists, and then get all of your damage stuff on your character. You can also get like reduced mana cost of skills on your chest, or like plus level of gems, or whatever. So yeah, for belts you could run a Belt of the Deceiver. Belt of the Deceiver is decent because you're in Cyclone, you're always in melee range. It gives you Intimidate, you already have Intimidate, so that's less good. You could run Meganauds, because Meganauds gives you flat fizz. If you just wanted to be a tooltip warrior, it does give you % life, so it still has some life in there. Just a Stygian Vise would be solid though, because you go for a Stygian Vise with a Murderous Jewel with flat physical damage. But this is like, Meganauds is a very cheap base item you could go for, that has some life, has a little bit of res, and your DPS will go up and it won't cost you much. So yeah, the Great Old Ones and the Meganauds would both be cheap options you could go for. I would drop the bronze and I would go for a fully defensive chest piece. I would probably just early on, since you're probably on a very tight budget, I would just look for any corrupted 6-link that had the right colors for you. Otherwise, try and get just like an incursion on a decent armor base. If you could get an astral, that would be ideal. But you're just looking for that and a bunch of life, right? So I'll just put like, just say 100 life astral with like maybe crafted life, right? Because again, like, we could make some super min-max stuff, but then if you don't have it, then it's not really helping you at all. Your boots don't have movement speed, which is really bad, and they only have 4 life, so let's drop those. And then your Ami, you could get much better Ami, so let's drop that. So let's try and up your stat requirements and everything. I'm not going to put in perfect res, because I'm assuming I'm going to fill in the res on your rings, your chest, your boots, your Ami, and the other thing. Like, actually, what did you actually have on your boots? You had 17 int on your boots. And, like, crafted. Like, your boots literally get, like, you could have just used a white pair of boots. The boots will give you nothing. Like, that's a no. So, Facebreaker, especially if you're using a bunch of uniques, it's hard to cap out your res. So, I would say try and look for a pair of 2-tone boots. If you get your hands on them, just it makes gearing out your res a little bit easier. And you're just looking for 30% movement speed, whatever resist you need, and just life. So let's just say that you just have like it's just like a pair of 60 life boots, movement speed, and then a couple of resists, right? That'd make your life a lot better. It'd make everything feel a lot smoother. And then for your amulet, you're going to need to fix up your stat requirements. So it's going to be like dex and int. So, let's actually pick the correct amulet base. So let's say that you went for a turquoise ami, because again, you need dex, int, and you're just looking for as much flat physical as you can get. Again, you can use the essences to try and craft. Let's just say you had tier 2 roll. And then you're looking for life. Again, let's just say you had 60 life on your Ami, and then any missing resist, any missing stat requirements. And that's build. So, swapping stuff around a little bit. And again, you've got a whole bunch of open jewel sockets. This is level 89 tree. If you're like, but Tarke, that's too many points. What do? You could cut back on some of the life nodes. You could cut back on some of the jewel sockets. And for jewels, I'd be looking for murderous jewels. Because on murderous jewels, you can get physical damage to attacks. And, you know, if you get the tier 1, great. But let's say that you only had the tier 3. You just got that. And you just got some life. Right. And let's fill that in on your missing jewel sockets. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Oh, and I filled it in with physical damage to axe attacks because I'm very intelligent. Where it's just physical damage. Is that suffix is the generic one? Yeah, sorry. Whoops. Let's remove that. Let's just say that you had the, if you had the tier 1, that'd be great, but let's just say you had, like, mid-tier 2. Cool. So, now, without any PUB warrior stuff, we've gotten you over 1.1 mil. How is your flask set up? You're running double life flask. You're gonna get rid of the diamond flask. We're gonna give you. We want a quicksilver of adrenaline. You're gonna want a instant life flask of staunching. So if you ran a divine life flask, staunching, and you want it to be seething ideally, but if you had bubbling, that's not the worst. That's there. Silver Flask is great. DPS increase and map clear stuff. You can get Onslaught on kill on one of your Murderous Jewels. If just one of them had chance to get Onslaught on kill, that would make your map clear feel a lot better. And obviously a Silver Flask would be great because it means you'd always have the Onslaught active. But anyway. Lion's Roar is a very cheap flask, which would give you a big DPS increase. The knockback on Lion's Roar can feel a little bit annoying, but it is a lot of damage. Like, it's a lot of damage, and it's not that expensive. And you can see that it really does just, like, shoot your damage up by a lot. So I would definitely look to get a Lion's Roar. So now we need to get you freeze removal. You don't need hexproof because we've gotten you that through the jewel. Which one was it? This one, Hexbreaker on a medium jewel. So if we went for utility, quicksilver of adrenaline, and again, I would really recommend going Pathfinder, not Berserker. Would really recommend it. It will ensure that your flasks are always active, which is very important. I like chemists on my flasks, but you can put whatever prefix on there. It doesn't really matter. I just personally like chemists. Also, I'm weird. I always have to have the quicksilver on the bottom for me. It's just a weird thing. But I do. Silver Flask would be a good option. Otherwise, you can go for a Basalt Flask. You have Blind, so you don't need a Stimulate Flask. If you want to just DPS Warrior up, you could go for a Sulfur. Quartz is nice for phasing, but you're already kind of like phasing going through all the different packs. Jade would be pretty solid. Let's definitely shove a Basalt in there. And let's say you have a Basalt with Chemist, with Shock Immune on there. So let's say Grounding. And then you just want a Flask which has high uptime for freeze removal. If you want to go full DPS Warrior, let's say you went for a Sulfur Flask of Heat. Because sure, why not? It's giving you some, give me some deeps. I would have run a Jade Flask, but like, whatever. So you go for something kind of like that. And you could actually have all your flasks active if you went for the Pathfinder. Also, we kind of want some dex, so I really would drop the Berserker. It might seem scary because you're like, but dude, I'm losing so much damage. But always having your flasks active, the Pathfinder would be really nice. So I would drop that and do that. It also gives you some attack speed, give you some dex, which solves your dex requirements. I would really go Pathfinder. If you don't want to go Pathfinder, you can go Berserker, but I really would go Pathfinder personally. Because it's one of those things where previously you weren't getting anything unique from being a Scion, right? Like, you weren't jumping to any starts, you weren't getting any special effects. The recovery you can only get from being either a Pathfinder or a Scion. So that, like, justifies you being a Pathfinder. It makes sense to do that, right? And again, with Berserker, you're taking increased damage, which is really rough, and you're already running an Abyssus, which makes you take increased physical damage. But yeah, with those gear swaps, nothing's been that expensive being added to your build. The most expensive thing we've done to you is, like, the regret cost, and yes, that regret cost will hurt you a lot, but you've got 1 million damage, you've now got 6.3k life, You've got potential to scale your life so much further if you really wanted to. And you get lots of fun crafting projects because you can craft all the murderous jewels. You can craft all the really nice cluster jewels. And then as you keep pushing more levels, you can then do like another medium into another small, right? So this, in my opinion, is a huge improvement. A huge, huge improvement. Hopefully it wasn't frustrating that I completely changed your entire build. But yeah, this is what I would do. Anyway, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Scion build, by the way. Bye-bye.